If your symptoms have gotten better, we would continue with the exercise and perform 20 additional repetitions. So lateral rotation, hip abduction, reset. Out, out, in, out, out, in for 20 repetitions. And while we were resting, let's continue with our nerve gliding exercise demonstration. And right now, I'm going to be showing you guys how to release tension in the obturator nerve. A few days ago, I showed you how to perform the prone obturator externus nerve test. And right now, we are going to be taking that test and turning the test into an exercise. We are going to be in a prone position, and there are a few components to this test. First thing that we want to do, get into prone. So we're going to be on our stomach, and we want our ankle, if you're on a table, off of the table. From this position right over here, we want to start by going into external or lateral hip rotation. So the toes, we want the toes pointing outward. We want to keep that hip on the table, though. I was exaggerating just to show you guys external rotation. But we're going to go into lateral hip rotation. So we are just going to point those toes out, do 3 to 5 repetitions, and then ask yourself, have my symptoms gotten better, worse, or stayed the same? If your symptoms have gotten worse or stayed the same, stop the test or stop the exercise immediately. There is no need to continue. We don't want to exacerbate your symptoms. However, if they have gotten better, then what we do is go ahead and perform additional 20 repetitions. So we're just going to turn that leg out and perform 20 repetitions of lateral hip rotation. Let's say you did the lateral hip rotation and you've noticed no reproduction of your symptoms. What we're going to do now is we are going to add a component of hip abduction, move the leg away from the midline in order to build tension on the nerve. So we would want to maintain that lateral hip rotation. And while maintaining that position, we're going to go into abduction 3 to 5 times. And then ask yourself, have my symptoms gotten better, worse, or stayed the same? If your symptoms have gotten worse or stayed the same, stop immediately. There is no need to continue with the exercise. We don't want to exacerbate your symptoms. However, if your symptoms have gotten better, we are going to continue with the exercise. So you are going to maintain that lateral hip rotation. And while maintaining the hip rotation, we're going to do 20 repetitions of hip abduction. Another option is we could do both at the same time. So we could do a combination of lateral rotation, hip abduction, and then reset in between each repetition. So we would go lateral rotation, abduction, back to the middle, point down. So out, out, in, out, out, in. We do that 3 to 5 repetitions, and then ask yourself, are my symptoms getting better, worse, or staying the same? If your symptoms have gotten worse or stayed the same, stop immediately. There is no need to continue with the exercise. We don't want to we don't want to exacerbate your pain. However, if your symptoms have gotten better, we would continue with the exercise and perform 20 additional repetitions. So lateral rotation, hip abduction, reset. Out, out, in, out, out, in for 20 repetitions. And that is how we would release tension on the obturator nerve by turning the prone obturator externus nerve test into a treatment exercise. So if you have any type of pain on the inner thigh, any type of tingling near the adductor area, that is when you would perform this exercise. Or if you ended up having the test performed on you and it was a positive test, then we can turn it into an exercise. But during the next rest period, we are going to be working on the pudendal nerve. Right now, our rest period is up. It is time for set number 8. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.